I want to start by making a particular point, Madam Speaker. The sort of lead-in to his budget presentation was this message that, according to him, the Belizean people sent to our government on March 7th. Now, the leader of the opposition boasts of being some first-class businessman. I don't quite see how that can be the case if the basic rules of arithmetic will continue to elude him, to escape him. I repeat, I don't know how he can seek to derive from the results of the elections this message that he talks about, which is supposed to be a message to our government, telling us, according to him, that we are being punished for all these serial sins that he alleges we have committed. Madam Speaker, you know, when you look at the detailed results of those elections, it is not just that we won 6 out of the 9 municipalities. Those municipalities that we won handsomely. Belmopan, we got 57.35% of the vote in that election. San Pedro, 50.36%. San Ignacio, Santa Elena, 61.61%. Benque, 66.05%. Dangriga, 55.15%. And Punta Gorda, 53.37%. Overall, we got 49.65% of all the votes cast in the 9 municipalities.
Just a minute, Prime Minister. Please, the gallery. We don't want to clear the gallery. Just kindly hold it down. Thank you. Proceed, Prime Minister.
So we won on an individual basis. We won on an overall basis. We won handsomely on the totality of votes cast. The message to be derived from that is that the Belizean people, while we acknowledge that there are things that have gone wrong, and while we certainly don't seek to conceal any missteps that we may have made, the Belizean people have signaled that, on balance, they continue to have confidence in this administration. Based on our record of physical and social transformation, a record that I insist is unprecedented in the history of this country. Now, the leader of the opposition, who is he, started off, as the figures show, on the wrong foot and continued in that same vein. Others of my colleagues have already pointed to the inordinate amount of time he spent on BTL. Well, I am no psychologist or psychiatrist, but it strikes me that there has to be some element of overcompensation in that long screed that he delivered with respect to BTL. there has to be an element of overcompensation for the guilt that deep down he must feel in terms of the personal role that he played in the debacle that was the alienation of this most precious of our national assets to the PUP puppet master. And the compounding of that original sin by the gifting to that man of the accommodation agreement. I don't think it is any coincidence that just around the time when they were giving the accommodation agreement, there was this new license granted by the then government to Smart SpeedNet, an entity that is owned jointly by the same Ashcroft who owned BTL, thus extending his monopoly position, and, according to the leader of the opposition, members of his family. Well, I'll tell you, I think it's time we try to strip away that kind of camouflage and cover, While in terms of the actual records of shareholding, this is not going to be revealed. All of us with any sense, though, it is not just his family, he himself, I have no doubt, is an owner of Smart SpeedNet. Now, he talked about, well, I'll tell you, I don't need to prove it. I don't need to prove it at all. This business of the leader of the opposition, let's accept his position that it is not him, it is his family. Every time he comes to this National Assembly and he has to talk about BTL, he engages in this pious routine. Well, of course, I have to declare my conflict of interest, as though mouthing in this meal-mouthed fashion, this trite formula absolves him from the fact that his conflict of interest, even if it is his brother and cousin and other family members who own SpeedNet and not himself, merely to say, I declare my family's interest, cannot be enough to absolve him, to get him out of the absolutely untenable position he is in as leader of the opposition. What's going to happen if, God forbid, they were to win and he becomes prime minister? What is he going to do with respect to BTL and SpeedNet at that juncture? This company, which is the crown jewel of our utilities, which we have fought so hard and paid so dear for, which now is doing a phenomenal job. You know that our internet speeds are the fastest in Latin America, faster than countries like Brazil, Mexico, these huge developed economies. What is he going to do with respect to the competition, to the conflict that must continue to prevail between SpeedNet, Smart, which his family owns, and I say he also owns, versus a BTL? Madam Speaker, in order to try to make his point, he talked about the value of BTL, trying to underscore the argument that we paid far more than we should have. Well, first of all, what we paid was not a figure that was arrived at in consequence of any negotiation or agreement. What we paid was what the arbitration tribunal ordered us to pay. And what we paid was 400 and odd thousand Belize dollars, 250,000 of which was for the accommodation agreement. 250 million. We paid 400 and 200, more than half of what we paid was what the arbitration panel said we had to pay for the accommodation agreement. So $250 million is what that accommodation agreement ultimately cost the people of Belize. And if we hadn't nationalized BTL, let me tell you how much more it would have cost. That is what he's supposed to talk about when he talks about BTL. Madam Speaker, I have the projected profits as certified by Price Waterhouse Coopers, who were engaged by the Ashcroft Group, prepared by an Alistair McPherson, who is a partner in the London office of this international firm. These are the profits that, with the accommodation agreement, the Ashcroft-controlled BTL was going to make if we had not nationalized that company and repatriated those profits. 2009, 30,517,000. 2010, 36,913,000. 2011, 40,638,000. 2012, 44,725,000. 2013, 51,284,000. 2014, 56,636,000. 2015, 63,340,000. And it goes to 2025, making for a grand total of 1,284,177. I have the Price Waterhouse valuation document here. That is what, under the accommodation agreement, if we had not stepped in, this unregulated monopoly that they gave to their puppet master was going to cost the Belizean people. And remember, Madam Speaker, now the nationalized BTL, whatever profits are made, stay here at home for the Belizean people. This 1,284,177 was all going to go abroad. You know what that would have done to our foreign exchange position? But, Madam Speaker, that is what the leader of the opposition's government, in which he was deputy prime minister, did to the people of this country. Well, in taking back that crown jewel of our national utilities, I will insist to my dying day that this government did what was right and what was righteous, and the people of Belize and the country of Belize are far better off for it. Now, BTL won't make these kinds of obscene profits because, of course, we've done away with the accommodation agreement. An accommodation agreement under which, apart from everything else, the fact that only the Ashcroft-controlled BTL could have done VoIP, the fact that the PUC, which by law is set up to regulate all these utilities, could tell them nothing at all. Madam Speaker, we still are going to make the kinds of profits that more than amply justify the taking back the nationalization of this company. And really, if the leader of the opposition is so smart a businessman, doesn't he know that you have to look at it from both points of view? You have to look at it in terms of both dimensions. Not only what the nationalized BTL will make, but what the nationalized BTL has saved, has already saved the people of this country. And he shouldn't distort the facts in his effort to try and score these cheap propaganda points, Madam Speaker. The BTL valuation as of March 31st, 2017, in millions of dollars. Property, plant, and equipment, $608,944,000. Current assets, inventories, 15,753,000, receivables, 53,136,000, cash and cash equivalents, 15,925,000, computers, software, and so on, 28 million. The Arcos submarine project, I don't know what kind of a businessman you are if you don't add in all these things. They end up with a value of total assets of 729,758,000, not quite the billion that I said. But you start to add to that the capex. You talk about the kinds of profits that BTL has made, and if it's $20 million a year, how many years it will take us to recoup what we spent for it? Well, don't only talk about the profits that we pay out in dividends. Talk about the fact that the earnings of the repatriated, nationalized BTL are so robust that we have been able to spend in 2010, 60,197,000 on capital expenditure. In 2011, 22,732,000. 2012, 27,960,000. 2013, 32,310,000. 2014, 37,739,000. 2015, 35,667,000. 2016, 40,307,000. 2017, 72,050,000. And in 2018, we're going to spend $90 million in capital expenditure to make this company absolutely the best in Central America and the Caribbean. What is he going to do if he ever gets into power? He's going to try and hobble BTL. It'll be a sellout all over again. They probably can't physically sell it because it's in the Constitution. But, Madam Speaker, I can bet they would absolutely undercut BTL for SMARC. That is what the people of this country must remember when they are being asked by these people to vote them into power once again. And then, Madam Speaker, you know, well, just to underscore that earlier point, we are now 54 in the entire world, BTL is, in terms of mobile speeds. And as I said, Madam Speaker, number one in Latin America, above Mexico, Panama, Brazil, and other countries with significantly larger resources. But the leader of the opposition went on to make this generalized charge of corruption. And in this, he was joined by my friend from Cayo South and the member from Coruscant Southeast and all of them. I listened to.
They want to get forestry department?
Well, I want to get into that right now. When the leader of the opposition makes so free with these charges of corruption, man, he really ought to check himself in the mirror. You know? I heard one of my colleagues, you know, when he asked about the written documentation of the Bear Stearns declaration that of that same super bond, of the monies that Bear Stearns helped them to bundle into what became the super bond, that the same 250 million had gone missing, just like that 250 million for the accommodation agreement. He said, well, where is the documentation? Well, Madam Speaker, that was something that at that time was publicly issued by Bear Stearns. I saw it. Furthermore, I visited Bear Stearns at the invitation of a Dr. Carl Ross. And I am telling you, there is no doubt at all that these people were absolutely furious at the fact that they had lent their name to the floating of these bonds that the People's United Party had engaged in. And they knew that fully $250 million could not be accounted for by their client, by the People's United Party government.
By way of projects. No project for sure.
And you know why? I come to the question of the debt and our debt to GDP ratio. And at that time, I will make the point that we have not engaged in a single cent of commercial borrowing.
Yeah.
You know, when they talk about our debt to GDP ratio is now 93% and they were 88%. Well, Madam Speaker, If I owe $1 million, but I am paying 2% interest on it, and you only owe 800,000, but you're paying 15% interest on it, who is better off?
Say that this is man.
But, Madam Speaker, he wants to see the Bear Stearns documentation. I'm sure we can go into the records and find it. But my colleagues, as one of them has just said, want to see those bank statements that he promised after the WikiLeaks disclosure came out about the cable companies down south that WikiLeaks suggested was up north, was payment for an oil concession that had been given. I remember the leader of the opposition saying, no, I get loan for it, and I'll provide the documentation. We would want to see that documentation. We can't see it yet.
5 years and you can't find it.
But when they are there making so free with their charges of corruption, and when they come to the question of lands, when they come to the question of lands, Madam Speaker, will I have here, you want to talk about documentation? I got the documentation. We are talking about the 250 acres in Miller's Bight that the Honorable John Bresenio, Minister of Natural Resources, for and on behalf of the government of Belize, transferred to, how you pronounce this? Shkanta, owned by your brother and his friend Neri Ramirez, for $13,750. Will we talk about that? You transferred 250 acres in Miller's Bight to your brother and his friend. You talk about corruption. How do you mean we're wrong with that? 200, let me continue. And Madam Speaker. Speaker is not getting.
It's back. Excuse me, honorable gentlemen. The Prime Minister has the floor. Let us proceed, please, Prime Minister.
If you don't recognize that as corruption, Mr. Member for, where you come from, Orange Walk North, then obviously, Orange Walk South, then obviously something is wrong with your moral compass. And that is the problem with all of you over there. But I'm not finished. Not finished. That is what he transferred to his brother. How about what he transferred to himself? What about Minister's Fiat Grant number 21 of 1999? To John Bresenio and Jaime Bresenio of number 2 Dunn Street, Orange Walk Town, 5.84 acres of land situate along the west side of the Progressor Lagoon, Progressor Agricultural Layout, Coruscant District, for the sum of $240.
From government, you buy it.
From government. Huh?
You give it to yourself. You give it to yourself.
What about?
Honorable members, please hold it down. Honorable members, the Prime Minister has the floor, please.
What about what you transferred, not just to your family, but to your cronies, the Johnsons, the man who used to manage your centaur? Is that what it's called? 2,914.60 acres in Tiger Creek, Orange Walk. What about that? What of the 3,000 acres? 3,000 acres that you also transferred to them? What about the 0.961?
I'm sorry, Prime Minister, we have to bring it down. Honorable members, you have to cease and desist. Excuse me.
May I proceed?
Yes, I
What
think
about-
mhm.
What about the 0.961 hectares to Jaime Briceño and John Briceño? What about the 827.848 square yards to John Briceño? What about the 5.4 acres Progresso again to John Briceño and Jaime Briceño, Minister's Fiat Grant number 21 of 1999? What about the leasehold of 20 acres in Progresso to John Briceño? What about, that's PSN 222561. What about PSN 17579 to John Briceño again, 6 acres in Progresso? The all of Progresso you're going with? What about the 20 acres freehold to John Briceño, Big Pond on the New River? Huh? That not corrupt? All that way himself? And didn't the one who sits behind him, Florencio Marin, I'm sorry, the member for Corozals, didn't he join him? Didn't he join him? He must tell us about the young girl McCrae, block 19 past the 820, that he got Juan Marin and Florencio Marin Jr. 1,420.169 acres. What about what was transferred to Eligio Briceño, Eudaldo Briceño, and Graciano Briceño jointly? What about in the Tower Hill registration section of the Orange Walk District, 17th March 2002, again to Eligio E. Briceño, Eudaldo S. Briceño, and Graciano Briceño jointly? 525 acres of land situated in the Tower Hill registration section, Orange Walk District.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have been.
Honorable members, please. We have to keep it down. We can't. It is at 10 o'clock in the night, and we need to proceed with the House meeting. You had a point to make.
No, Madam Speaker, I just need to make a clarification. I've been listening all along. I have not tried to interrupt the Prime Minister. But some of these things are simply not true. That I give...
Honorable.
Prime Minister, look at the file, Prime Minister. These are lands that they got long before I was Prime Minister, man. Look at it. Look at it. You're being a liar right now.
Thank you, Minister. Thank
Madam
you.
Speaker, it is simply not true, and I want to put it on record.
Well, you have said
did
so.
Not give my family, my uncles, and my father. It is land that they had from BSI.
The point is taken,
the
Honorable
70s.
Leader.
It is land that they had from BSI long
Madam
before
Speaker.
me.
Thank you, Opposition Leader.
Madam
Thank you very much. But the Prime Minister has the floor, so let him proceed.
Madam
Please.
Speaker.
All I ask
Madam
for you to say the
Speaker.
truth.
This,
All
No.
I ask
Honorable members, unless we quieten it down, I will not proceed with the House meeting.
before he became Minister of Lands, well, this 525 acres of land in the Tower Hill registration section, Orange Walk District, 17th March 2002, to Eligio Briceño, Eudaldo Briceño, and Graciano Briceño. That was before you became Minister of Lands? The 308.40 acres, that was before you became Minister of Lands? Huh? The 86.9 acres that again went to Leopoldo Briceño, Eligio E. Briceño, Eudaldo S. Briceño, and Graciano Briceño. Parcel 267. That was before you became Minister of Lands, sir? That was before you became Minister of Lands? Huh?
Honorable Prime Minister, I don't think your ministers and cabinet want you to proceed. We need to settle down. Go ahead, Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, the 705.48 acres in the Tower Hill registration section. Eligio Briceño, Graciano Briceño, and Eudaldo Briceño jointly. That was before you became Minister of Lands.
And then 5,000 acres
Huh?
black road there.
They, again in the Tower Hill registration section, 1,008.72 acres, Block 4, Parcel 650, Leopoldo Briceño, Eligio Briceño, Graciano Briceño, Eudaldo Briceño of Orange Walk Town, Orange Walk District. Parcel 1524, Tower Hill, 98.8 acres, Eligio Briceño, Graciano Briceño, and Eudaldo Briceño. Huh? And you want to talk foolishness?
Ay, Cordell, can you take over?
Johnny, you corrupt.
Cordell, can you take over, boy? Can you take over?
And the sugar.
And I haven't gotten into I haven't gotten into other things that Florencio Marin got, Madam Speaker, and Baiza and all these people, you know, all under his tenure. But let me continue because you seem to be asking for some sort of relief, sir. Well, all right. Let me leave you alone for a moment and turn to our good friend, the member for Cayo South.
I'm thinking clean.
Oh, pretends to be an anti-corruption apostle. When you talk about a Pharisaic disposition, 17-63-1, St. George's Key. 1,709.125 square meters. Well, no put down your hand, keep it up, because a lot more to come. I don't want you to put up your hand every time, just keep it up, keep it up. 17-63-105, St. George's Key again, 1,888.322 square meters. 45-32-1256, but this one, how you get your Albert/Meso? You move out of St. George's Key and go on to Albert/Meso, 2,230.9 square meters. 45-40-194, St. Martin the Port. Boy, you are a peripatetic fellow. You're all over the place. No.
Point of clarification, Madam Speaker. St.
There's
Martin,
no clarification.
Madam
Either you have a
Speaker,
point of order or you
there
don't.
is what you call purchase from government, and there is what you call transfer of title.
Thank you.
St.
Thank you,
Martin
member.
the Poorest, and the Prime Minister should be clear, was a property that I bought at an auction.
Okay,
Madam
thank you.
Speaker,
Thank you. You've
St.
made your
George's-
clarification,
wait.
member.
St.
The
George's
Prime
Key,
Minister has the floor.
St. George's Key.
Right?
Wait. Prime Minister, but give me a break, man.
I never,
Has
they
the
want to know me to
floor.
talk, you know. I never interrupted you once I was even here.
Clarification. So, St. Martin the Poorest was a property that I bought at an auction. Madam Speaker, St. George's Key is a property that I bought from government.
Oh, thank you, member.
Well, Madam Speaker, let me continue. PSN on the dash 370398, Julius Espat, 10 acres, Northern Lagoon. You buy that one there too? PSN 397777, Julius Espat, 9.09 acres, Northern Lagoon and Wagner Lagoon. PSN 390755, Julius Espat, 7.5 acres. PSN
No, but you say the Prime Minister. Wait. Point of
Has the
clarification.
floor,
Come
member.
on. Point of clarification. He can't mention.
There is no point of check your standing orders.
I bought
You corrupt.
Northern Lagoon one time.
Honorable member, you had the floor, member. Please,
Prime Minister
please
can't.
give us a break to get
No.
through. Thank you
There's
very
no
much.
break. He has
You're
to
so
speak the
corrupt.
truth.
Just like Johnny, man.
Continue.
May I continue,
Prime
Madam
Minister.
Speaker? But that's why I'm calling out the numbers given. So I'm not repeating any number. Let me continue. Did I get to PSN-475625? 0.42 acres, portion of 5.331 acres south of St. George's Key near the street.
Point of clarification.
PSN.
Madam
Look,
Speaker.
just sit down and keep your hand up.
Sit down, man.
No.
Madam Speaker, I am not denying the fact that I bought.
You're corrupt.
Listen to no.
You're corrupt.
I am at the. I
Honorable
bought
members, you
No,
can't
no,
keep
no, no,
interrupting
that's-
though.
opportunity to defend.
You're corrupt.
The Prime Minister is closing the
No,
bid,
but the man-
please, and he's making. Honorable member.
You have to give us an opportunity to explain.
No, it's not working
I am
like
not
that.
denying the fact. Madam Speaker, I make your host in order.
If you would sit down, I could.
No, because it's my turn to speak.
You have to make a quick point and
Yes,
sit
ma'am.
down.
Point of clarification to the Prime Minister. I bought a property in St. George's
Thank
Key
you.
from the government of Belize.
Thank you. Okay.
I therefore developed the property and we divided it and subdivided it.
Thank you.
So the Prime Minister cannot come here and say that I bought more than one
Thank
property
you very
in
much.
St. George's Key.
Thank you very much.
I
You
think the
made your
Prime
point.
Minister needs to understand that quite clearly.
You did.
Yes,
Please
and
have
he's
a
an,
seat,
he's
please.
an attorney and he should understand these
Please have a seat.
legal transactions.
Thank you, though. Have a seat.
May I continue? May I continue, Madam Speaker?
Please keep it down, honorable members. If not, I will not be able to proceed with the House meeting.
PSN-475626, 0.42 acres. And that there was also 0.42 acres, which was 475625. Julius Espat, another portion of the 5.331 acres. PSN 475627, 0.42 acres, another portion, Julius Espat. PSN 475628, 0.46 acres, Julius Espat, near the split. PSN 475629, Julius Espat, 0.46 acres, near the split. Since we talk about... You only make it worse when you jump up every time, you know, you make it worse. Then I'm going to talk about Hagwe Ball Field, lick.
Madam Speaker, it's simple. I have
What are
no
you
problem
doing?
with being clear and honest with the Prime Minister. I bought a property in St. George's Key. Listen to me. Listen to me. That was totally from government. That was mangrove. We invested thousands of dollars. We
Okay,
went
thank you.
and we went to the lands utilization department. We
Okay, member.
No. We divided the same property into various sub-properties. Madam
Thank
Speaker, so
you.
me and Kono
You've
and
made
say-
your point,
No,
member.
no, but you see, this Prime Minister likes to say things and thinks that he'll get away, but it's not true.
Kindly take your seat, please, member. You just made your point. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Let me have pity on him and leave him alone. I think the public has heard enough, so let me move away from him. What about, again, Mr. Leader of the Opposition, the 1.42 acres of land situate along the sea coast and approximately 3/4 of a mile north of the channel known as the Split Kikauka Village, Belize District, to Renan Briseño, your cousin and partner in Swednet, isn't it? Correct? For the princess sum of $6,000. And that was the 29th of the 5th month in 2007. What about the 49.94 acres of land, southern Laguna, north of Gales Point Village, to Neri Ramirez? That's You know who Neri Ramirez is, don't you? The friend of your family, a friend of your brothers, that sort of thing. And again, what about Minister's Fiat number 16 of 2005? You were Minister of Lands, weren't you? Huh? 5.75 acres of land to Renan Breseno. This is another portion of land, 3/4 of a mile north of the split Kikaka Village Belize District, for the princely sum of $15,000. See it here? Minister's Fiat, grant number 16 of 2005 to Renan Breseno.
Madam Speaker, can the Prime Minister, in his notes, does he have, Madam Speaker, the land for Gaspar Vega and Andre Vega and his associates?
Kindly have a seat. You've had your time.
He's reading our notes.
You've had your time, member. Member, please have a seat. Please have a seat.
You see, Madam Speaker, I think
Help from the gallery, please. Kindly remember that this is a live broadcast, and the general public, while they need the information, do not need the noise and the quarrel. Please. Please proceed, Prime Minister. It is 20 past 10 and the House is not nearly finished with its business.
let me try to finish. Madam Speaker, I think I have offered copious proof with respect not just to the People's United Party in general, but with respect to the leader of the opposition in particular. These are the people called malignant tumors by the CCJ. These are the people who presided over the accommodation agreement, the Belize Bank settlement deed, the sell-off of the registries to another Ashcroft control company. These are the people who did all these things in secret, and they come now and have the nerve to say that we are the most corrupt government. My God. My God. Madam Speaker, enough said. Let me just close by making the point that one of the things he tried to lay emphasis on was foreign direct investment, suggesting that the economy is in free fall, which cannot be true because there was growth. Not the kind of growth we would have liked, but there was growth. But Madam Speaker, in terms of foreign direct investment, was it just yesterday that Sumitomo Fifes bought the old Sorensen banana farms for 22-point-odd million US dollars? They will rehabilitate those farms, clean them up, and put them into the kind of production that will see the banana industry continue to go from strength to strength. What about the fact of the Four Seasons inking the deal now with respect to Kikoka? I don't know if my friend and colleague, if you actually gave them what just the first phase alone, what it means in terms of investment dollars. $250 million US dollars. You know that the Cayo, what are they called? Cayo Grains and Valley of Peace Company. They've invested like $40 million. I'm I'm going to, Madam Speaker, I'm trying to be as diversified as the member for Kayoso's ownership of land is. Being diversified, I'm going all over the place. $40 million these people have put into grains. They just bought Texmar. They've also invested in Santander. Madam Speaker, what about, I don't know if my friend, the Minister of Trade, spoke about the LPG landing terminal. What's the investment going to be? 40 odd, 30 odd, 40 odd $million? Being spearheaded by locals, including our good friend Gilly Canton, who I must say is doing a bang-up job in terms of what is going to be a public-private partnership.
Investor confidence.
The equity participation in that, while it is going to be a Belizean-headed venture, there is equity participation as well from abroad in terms of foreign direct investment. Now, Madam Speaker, I close by saying that I made clear from the start, this is not a budget of pyrotechnics. It is not a budget of fireworks. It is a budget of consolidation and recovery. But even as we proceed in this measured fashion, we continue to do the things that have become the hallmark of this administration, the things that have succeeded in socially as well as physically transforming this country. All those pro-poor programs, all the educational subsidies, all the paying for the CXCs, all of that is not touched one whit. Those things continue to be rolled out, continue to move forward. And our infrastructure drive proceeds apace. When I say, you can't eat street, I like the guy who came on the TV and said, but those streets give me the jobs that pay me so that I can buy the food to eat. That is why unemployment is down and job creation is up. Madam Speaker, that's Madam Speaker, you know what? You know what? I hear you. The hour is late. I believe that the Belizean people will continue to repose confidence in this United Democratic Party government, who will continue to do the best possible job for the people of this country. Thank you.